You've been looking at classic cars all wrong. While everyone else is throwing six figures at the same tired muscle cars, smart collectors are quietly scooping up genuine classics for the price of a decent used truck. I'm talking about cars with pedigree, cars with stories, cars that'll appreciate faster than your buddy's overpriced Camaro. These aren't project cars or basket cases. These are legitimate collector vehicles that you can actually drive and enjoy without worrying about every mile you put on them. If you're serious about getting into classic cars without going broke, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because I'm about to save you from making some expensive mistakes. Look, I get it. The classic car market has gone absolutely insane. Cars that used to be affordable weekend projects are now selling for stupid money. A decent '69 Camaro SS will set you back more than most people's annual salary. And don't even get me started on what's happened to muscle car prices since the pandemic. But here's what the auction houses and fancy dealers don't want you to know. There are still incredible classics out there that haven't been discovered by the masses yet. Cars with genuine heritage, solid engineering, and that special something that makes them worth collecting. The key is knowing where to look and understanding what makes a car truly special beyond just horsepower numbers and quarter-mile times. I've spent the last 15 years buying, selling, and collecting cars, and I've learned that the best deals aren't found at the big auctions or on dealer lots. They're sitting in garages, classified ads, and sometimes right under our noses, waiting for someone smart enough to recognize their potential. Today, I'm going to walk you through 10 collector cars that represent incredible value in today's market. These aren't basket cases or project cars. These are legitimate classics that you can buy, drive, and enjoy while they appreciate in value. And the best part? You won't need to take out a second mortgage to afford one. Car number 1, 1965 to 1973 Ford Mustang. Let's start with something familiar, but often overlooked. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, everyone knows about Mustangs, hear me out. Yes, the high-performance models like the Boss 302 and Shelby variants have gone through the roof, but the regular Mustangs, the ones that actually built Ford's reputation, are still surprisingly affordable. We're talking about genuine first-generation Mustangs here. These cars defined the pony car era and changed American automotive culture forever. Ford built over 5 million of them between 1964 and 1973, which means there are still plenty out there, and that volume keeps prices reasonable. Here's why these make perfect collector cars. First, they're dead simple to work on. Any mechanic worth his salt can keep one running, and parts are everywhere. Second, they've got that classic American style that never goes out of fashion. Third, and this is important, they're actually fun to drive. These aren't museum pieces. They're cars you can take to cruise nights, car shows, or just enjoy on a Sunday afternoon. You can find a solid, driver-quality, first-gen Mustang for anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000, depending on the year and condition. That's less than most people spend on a new pickup truck, and you're getting a piece of automotive history that's only going to become more valuable as time goes on. The aftermarket support is incredible too. Companies like Classic Industries and NPD have literally every part you could ever need, from weather stripping to complete drivetrain components. This isn't some obscure European exotic where a simple repair requires shipping parts from overseas. This is American iron with American support. Car number 2, 1991 to 2002 Dodge Viper. Now here's where things get interesting. The first generation Dodge Viper is one of the most undervalued supercars in the world right now. Think about it. This is a car with a massive 8.0-liter V10 engine making 400 horsepower, wrapped in a body that looks like it came straight from a comic book. It's raw, it's dangerous, and it's absolutely intoxicating to drive. But here's the crazy part. You can still find clean examples for under $40,000. That's less than a loaded pickup truck, and you're getting legitimate supercar performance. The Viper was never meant to be civilized. It doesn't have traction control, ABS, or any of the electronic nannies that modern cars rely on. It's just you, 400 horsepower, and your ability to keep it pointed in the right direction. The reason these are still affordable is simple. They scare people. The Viper has a reputation for being difficult to drive, and honestly, that reputation is well deserved. This isn't a car for beginners or weekend warriors who want something easy. But if you can handle the responsibility that comes with that much power, you're getting one of the most thrilling driving experiences ever created. From a collector's perspective, the Viper represents the end of an era. It was one of the last truly analog supercars, built before computers took over everything. As electric cars become more common and regulations make cars like this impossible to build, the Viper's value is only going to increase. The build quality is solid too. These weren't built in some exotic factory with questionable reliability. They were assembled in Detroit by people who knew how to build cars that last. Yes, parts can be expensive when something breaks, but these engines are basically bulletproof if you maintain them properly. Car number 3, 1992 to 1994. AutoZam AZ1. Here's something completely different. A car that most Americans have never even heard of, but represents one of the coolest automotive experiments ever attempted. The AutoZam AZ1 is a tiny Japanese sports car with gull-wing doors, a mid-mounted engine, and styling that looks like it came from a science fiction movie. This car was part of Japan's K-car category, which means it was designed to meet strict size and engine displacement regulations. But don't let the small size fool you. This thing is an absolute riot to drive. It weighs less than 1,600 pounds and has perfect 50-50 weight distribution thanks to that mid-mounted engine. The AZ1 represents everything that was great about early 90s Japanese engineering. It's incredibly well built, surprisingly sophisticated, and completely unique. The gull-wing doors aren't just for show. They were necessary because the car is so low and narrow that conventional doors wouldn't work properly. From a collector's standpoint, this car checks all the boxes. It's rare. Mazda only built about 4,400 of them. It's historically significant as one of the last true K sports cars, and it's starting to gain recognition among enthusiasts who appreciate its unique engineering and design. The best part? You can import one for around $20,000 to $25,000. That's less than most people spend on a daily driver, and you're getting something that's guaranteed to be the most interesting car at any gathering. Plus, as Japanese classics continue to appreciate, cars like this are only going to become more valuable. Car number 4, 1971 to 1989, Mercedes-Benz SL R107. If you want classic European luxury without the European repair bills, the R107. Mercedes SL is your answer. This car was in production for 18 years, which tells you everything you need to know about how well Mercedes got the formula right. The R107 SL represents Mercedes at their absolute peak. This was when the company was still focused on building cars that would last forever rather than maximizing quarterly profits. The build quality is extraordinary. These cars feel like they were carved from a single block of steel. The paint is thick, the chrome is real, and everything fits together with the precision you'd expect from German engineering. But here's the thing that makes these cars special. They're still relatively affordable. While the high-performance AMG models and rare variants have started climbing in price, you can still find a solid 450 SL or 380 SL for $30,000 to $40,000. That's incredible value for a car with this level of luxury and engineering. These cars are also surprisingly practical. The hardtop comes off for open-air driving, but it's substantial enough that you can drive year-round in comfort. The trunk is actually usable, and the interior is spacious enough for real adults. This isn't some cramped sports car that you can only enjoy for short trips. This is a grand tourer that you could drive across the country in complete comfort. The reliability is legendary too. These engines were designed to run for hundreds of thousands of miles with proper maintenance. Yes, when something does break, the parts are expensive, but these cars break down so infrequently that the overall cost of ownership is actually quite reasonable. Car number 5, 1978 to 1986, Toyota Supra. Everyone knows about the 4th generation Supra, the one from Fast and Furious that now sells for stupid money. But the first generation Supra, the one that started it all, is still flying under the radar. And that's a huge mistake, because these early Supras are fantastic cars that represent incredible value. The first gen Supra was basically Toyota's answer to the Datsun 280Z. It had a smooth inline-six engine, rear-wheel drive, and classic 80s styling that still looks great today. But unlike the Z car, which has been discovered by collectors and priced accordingly, the early Supra is still affordable. These cars have everything you want in a classic sports car. The 2.6-liter inline-six is smooth and reliable, with enough power to be entertaining without being dangerous. The handling is balanced and predictable, making it a great car for someone who wants to learn how to drive a classic sports car properly. And the build quality is typical Toyota, which means it's going to run forever if you take care of it. From a collector's perspective, the first-gen Supra is positioned perfectly. It's the foundation of one of the most legendary sports car nameplates in history, but it hasn't been discovered by the masses yet. As the later Supras become increasingly unaffordable, enthusiasts are going to start looking at these earlier cars with new appreciation. You can find a clean example for $15,000 to $25,000, which is remarkable value for a car with this much potential. And unlike some classics that require constant attention, these Toyotas are reliable enough to be daily drivers if you want. Car number 6, 1980 to 1986, Alfa Romeo GTV6. Here's a car that represents everything great about Italian automotive passion, combined with surprising reliability. The Alfa Romeo GTV6 is one of the most beautiful cars ever made, with styling by Giugiaro that still looks modern today. But more importantly, it's one of the most rewarding cars to drive that you can buy for reasonable money. The heart of the GTV6 is its 2.5-liter V6 engine, which produces one of the greatest sounds in automotive history. This isn't just marketing hyperbole. The Alfa V6 is genuinely musical in a way that few engines ever achieve. It's not the most powerful engine ever built, but it has character that modern engines simply can't match. The handling is where this car really shines. Alfa Romeo understood that a sports car should be about more than just straight-line speed. The GT-V6 has perfect weight distribution thanks to its rear-mounted transaxle, which puts the transmission at the back of the car for optimal balance. The result is a car that feels alive in your hands, responding to every input with precision and feedback. Now, I'll be honest, these cars do require more attention than a Toyota or Honda. But the reliability issues that plagued Alphas in the 70s were largely resolved by the time the GT-V6 came along. If you find one that's been properly maintained, it'll be surprisingly dependable. The collector potential is enormous. Alfa Romeo has a racing heritage that few manufacturers can match, and the GT-V6 represents the company at their creative peak. As people rediscover the joy of analog sports cars, values are starting to climb. You can still find good examples for $20,000 to $30,000, but that window won't stay open forever. Car number 7, 1984 to 1991, Honda CRX. The Honda CRX might be the most underappreciated sports car of the 1980s. While everyone was focused on muscle cars and European exotics, Honda quietly built one of the most perfectly balanced sports cars ever created. Lightweight, perfect handling, and legendary Honda reliability. What more could you want? The CRX was revolutionary when it came out. At a time when most sports cars were getting heavier and more complex, Honda went the opposite direction. They built a car that weighed less than 2,000 pounds and focused on handling rather than horsepower. The result was a car that could embarrass much more expensive sports cars on a twisty road. But here's what makes the CRX special from a collector's perspective. It represents the peak of analog sports car design. There's no traction control, no stability management, no electronic interference between you and the road. It's just a perfectly balanced chassis, a smooth revving engine, and one of the best manual transmissions ever built. The problem is finding a good one. The CRX was popular with younger drivers who often modified them heavily or didn't maintain them properly. Clean original examples are becoming increasingly rare, which is driving values up steadily. If you can find an unmolested CRXSI, you're looking at one of the best investments in the classic car world. These cars are starting to be recognized for what they always were: masterpieces of automotive engineering that prioritize driving pleasure over everything else. Car number 8, 1938 to 2003 Volkswagen Beetle. The Volkswagen Beetle might be the most successful car design in history, and it's still one of the best entry points into classic car collecting. With over 21 million built over 65 years of production, there are plenty of them out there, which keeps prices reasonable while ensuring that parts and expertise are readily available. But don't mistake common for boring. The Beetle represents one of the most important automotive stories ever told. It was the car that put the world on wheels, the people's car that delivered affordable transportation to millions of families. From a historical perspective, few cars are more significant. The beauty of Beetle collecting is that there's something for everyone. Want a numbers-matching 1960s example? You can find one. Prefer a later Super Beetle with more modern conveniences? Those are available too. Want to build a custom hot rod? The aftermarket support is incredible. The mechanical simplicity is a huge advantage for new collectors. The air-cooled engine is about as straightforward as automotive engineering gets. Any competent mechanic can work on one, and the parts are cheap and plentiful. This is a car you can actually maintain yourself if you're so inclined. From an investment standpoint, Beetles are solid. They're not going to make you rich overnight, but they hold their value well and provide years of enjoyment. Plus, they're practical enough to actually use. Try finding another classic car that gets 30 miles per gallon and can carry 4 people and their luggage. Car number 9, 1984 to 1999, Toyota MR2. The Toyota MR2 is proof that you don't need a European badge to build a world-class sports car. This mid-engine masterpiece offers exotic car handling and layout at a fraction of the cost, wrapped in distinctive styling that still turns heads today. The first generation MR2 was revolutionary, Toyota's first mid-engine production car, designed to compete with cars like the Porsche 914 and Fiat X 1/9. But unlike those European competitors, the MR2 was built with typical Toyota reliability and attention to detail. The mid-engine layout provides handling characteristics that are simply impossible to achieve with a front-engine car. The weight distribution is perfect, the center of gravity is low, and the car responds to steering inputs with surgical precision. It's not the fastest car in a straight line, but on a winding road, few cars are more rewarding to drive. The second generation MR2 took the concept even further, with more power, better refinement, and styling that looked like it came from a much more expensive car. The turbocharged models offer genuine sports car performance, while the naturally aspirated versions provide all the handling benefits with better reliability and lower maintenance costs. What makes the MR2 special as a collector car is its position in automotive history. It proved that Japanese manufacturers could build sports cars that were every bit as good as their European counterparts, but with better reliability and lower costs. As mid-engine sports cars become increasingly rare and expensive, the MR2 represents incredible value. You can find first-generation examples for $15,000 to $20,000, while second-generation cars range from $20,000 to $35,000 depending on condition and whether they're turbocharged. That's remarkable value for a mid-engine sports car with this level of engineering and build quality. The reliability is typical Toyota, which means these cars will run forever if you maintain them properly. Parts are still readily available, and any competent mechanic can work on them. This isn't some exotic that requires specialized knowledge and expensive parts. It's a sports car you can actually drive and enjoy without worrying about every mile. Car number 10, 1982 to 1994, BMW 3 Series, E30. The E30 BMW 3 Series might be the most important sports sedan ever built. It established the template that every other manufacturer has been trying to copy for the last 40 years, the perfect balance of performance, luxury, and everyday usability. Now, the M3 versions have gone completely insane in terms of pricing. Clean E30M 3S are selling for six figures, which puts them out of reach for most collectors. But the regular 3 Series models, the 325i, 318i, and others, are still surprisingly affordable and offer 90% of the M3 experience at a fraction of the cost. What makes the E30 special is how well BMW got the fundamentals right. The chassis is perfectly balanced, the steering is precise and communicative, and the build quality is exceptional. These cars feel solid in a way that modern BMWs simply don't match. Every control has a satisfying weight and precision that makes even mundane driving enjoyable. The inline-6 engines in the 325i are legendary for their smoothness and reliability. They're not the most powerful engines ever built, but they have character and longevity that modern turbocharged engines can't match. With proper maintenance, these engines will run for hundreds of thousands of miles. From a collector's perspective, the E30 represents BMW at their absolute peak. This was before the company started chasing market share and began building cars for accountants rather than enthusiasts. The E30 was built when BMW still understood that the ultimate driving machine should actually be ultimate to drive. Clean examples are getting harder to find, which is driving values up steadily. You can still find a solid 325i for $20,000 to $30,000, but that window is closing fast. As people rediscover the joy of analog sports sedans, these cars are only going to become more valuable. The smart collector's strategy. Here's what separates smart collectors from the guys who overpay at auctions. They understand that the best classics aren't always the most obvious ones. While everyone else is fighting over the same overpriced muscle cars, smart money is quietly accumulating cars like these. Vehicles with genuine heritage, solid engineering, and room for appreciation. The key is buying cars that tell a story. Every car on this list represents something important in automotive history. The Mustang defined the pony car era. The Viper was the last of the analog supercars. The AZ1 showcased Japanese engineering creativity. The Mercedes SL represented luxury car perfection. Each of these cars has a legitimate claim to significance beyond just being old. But significance alone isn't enough. You also need to consider practical factors. Can you get parts? Is there a community of enthusiasts who can help with advice and support? Are there mechanics who know how to work on the car? All of these cars pass those tests, which is why they make sense as collector vehicles. The other advantage of focusing on cars like these is that you can actually drive them. These aren't trailer queens that you're afraid to put miles on. They're cars that were designed to be driven and enjoyed. The best part of classic car ownership isn't looking at your car in the garage. It's taking it out on a Sunday morning and remembering why you fell in love with cars in the first place. Market timing and investment potential. Look, I'm not going to tell you that any of these cars are guaranteed investments. The classic car market can be unpredictable, and values can go down as well as up. But if you're looking at these cars from a long-term perspective, the fundamentals are solid. First, they're not making any more of them. Production has ended on all of these models, which means supply is fixed while demand continues to grow as more people discover their appeal. Second, they represent the end of an era. As cars become increasingly computerized and regulated, vehicles like these, with their analog controls, mechanical simplicity, and direct connection between driver and machine, are becoming more precious. Third, they're still affordable enough that regular enthusiasts can buy them. This isn't some exotic market where only billionaires can participate. These are cars that working people can afford, which means there's a broad base of potential buyers. The smart play is to buy the best example you can afford, and then actually enjoy it. Don't buy a car as an investment and then stick it in a garage hoping it appreciates. Buy a car because you love it. Drive it regularly, maintain it properly, and let any appreciation be a bonus. What to look for when buying. When you're shopping for any classic car, condition is everything. A rough car that needs extensive work will cost you far more in the long run than a clean example that costs more upfront. Here's what to focus on. First, rust is your enemy. Surface rust can be dealt with, but structural rust is expensive to fix properly. Pay particular attention to areas where water collects: wheel wells, door frames, and the bottom of doors. Second, mechanical condition matters more than cosmetics. A car with faded paint but a solid engine and transmission is a much better buy than a pretty car with mechanical problems. Paint and interior can be fixed relatively easily, but major mechanical work gets expensive fast. Third, documentation is crucial. Service records, ownership history, and any documentation about modifications or repairs can tell you a lot about how the car has been cared for. A car with complete records is worth more than one with no history. Finally, don't be afraid to walk away. There are always more cars out there, and the right one will come along eventually. It's better to keep looking than to buy the wrong car and regret it later. The classic car market doesn't have to be intimidating or impossibly expensive. Yes, the obvious choices have gotten crazy expensive, but there are still incredible cars out there for people who know where to look. Every car on this list offers something special, whether it's the raw excitement of a Viper, the precision engineering of a CRX, or the timeless style of a Mercedes SL. They're all cars that you can buy, drive, and enjoy while they appreciate in value. The key is to stop chasing the same cars everyone else wants and start looking at the hidden gems that are still affordable. Buy something with a story, something that speaks to you personally, and something that you'll actually want to drive. Because at the end of the day, that's what classic car collecting should be about: the joy of owning and driving something special. These 10 cars will give you that joy without requiring you to mortgage your future. The classic car market is always evolving, and the smart collectors are the ones who get there first. While everyone else is still fighting over overpriced muscle cars, you could be out there enjoying one of these incredible machines. If this video helped you discover your next classic car, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our classic car content. And drop a comment below. Which of these 10 cars caught your attention? Are there any affordable classics that I missed? I read every comment and love hearing from fellow car enthusiasts. Until next time, keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down.